Hi, I'm Matt Marshall, founder and editor-in-chief of VentureBeat, and I'm here with Vishnu Ram, VP of Engineering at Credit Karma, which, as many of you know, is a leading finance company that helps you track your credit scores, monitor, and offer you other services. I think Vishnu, with over 100 million users now?
We have more than 120 million users, Matt, and it's an honor to be worked at Credit Karma for the last 10 years now.
Yeah, great. Well, thanks for joining me, Vishnu. And we're talking about scaling AI infrastructure for financial innovation. And Vishnu, we invited you on because you're part of the Intuit family, and Intuit is very advanced in AI infrastructure, having created what it calls the Gen OS. And you're handling this financial data for more than 120 million people. How has that influenced your approach to AI infrastructure, particularly when it comes to balancing those performance needs with data security?
Yeah, great question, Matt. Pretty much from day one, we have always had this mission of championing data belongs to our members and treat the members' data like you would treat your own data. So what that meant was we have organized our entire systems and infrastructure in a way that we can deal with that mission to be able to enable that mission well. So we took our time to set up zones in a manner that enables us to deliver high performance while working on this mission. Each zone that we have had has very clear principles of what data it can contain, who can access this data, and for what set of purposes. Now, when it comes to AI infrastructure, also from a mission perspective, there's a very clear principle that we put in early for the success of the AI team. You want to be able to provide stronger guarantees around consistency of the data. The data that you use to train the model, is it the same kind of data, same type of data that you're going to use to score your models in production? So we wanted that high guarantees around data consistency. What that meant was the only data that we could use in our machine learning models was data that can move across zones.
Great, Vishnu. Now, you've been at Credit Karma for a decade, right? And you've seen this evolution from AI and ML to now generative AI. And apparently you're running something like 65 billion model predictions daily. What are some of the biggest technical challenges you face in scaling to this level, and how do you overcome those?
Yeah, I think we always had very lofty ambitions in terms of what we wanted to do with AI and with data. And for Credit Karma, that meant leaning very heavily on Google's infrastructure and Google's capabilities. So we use BigQuery, we use Dataflow very heavily for us to be able to process all this data at scale. And I think I already mentioned about the data consistency across environments. That just is such a big problem if you're not able to bake that into the design of the end-to-end system of how models get trained and how models get deployed. You're always playing a catch-up game. So we were able to bake that in very early on, and we recognize that as a big challenge. The one challenge that I think we are continuing to make strides on is, how do I make sure that a particular data element that I used in a particular way for a use case, can I trace that back to every single service that touches that, and what is the source of data? How do we get access to the source of data? And if some change happens and the change is not beneficial for our systems or our models, can we get alerted on that quickly? I think that's an ongoing challenge, and we keep solving the challenge every couple of years, and then our scale goes up, and then we have to go back to solve the challenge again.
So Intuit Assist is the assistant that Intuit, your parent company, introduced to help customers across the various properties. It's a Gen AI powered chatbot to help users on all kinds of questions and tasks. Is that the main Gen AI application that you're working with at Credit Karma?
So the way to think about the chatbot is, you probably everyone has heard about this concept of a blank canvas problem. if you're depending on 120 million users to be able to deal with a blank canvas problem on their own, that's not going to really, that's not us helping our members achieve financial progress. So uh, when it comes to personal finance, there are probably some set of questions, some set of problems which are very common and which just like occur all the time across all of our members, but it will have its own special nuance in terms of how it impacts certain member more than some other members. For example, in my own life, like I just have my daughter who's just like joined undergrad, and I'm trying to make sure the question that is top of my mind is, have I saved up enough so that she's able to go through her undergrad college education without having to take a student loan and have to pay a student loan for the rest of her life, right? So what that really means is that Credit Karma has access to the data that I am allowing Credit Karma to have access to. So if we are able to use that data and understand the specific problems that I care most about, I would say being able to show a lot of these insights across the app powered by Intuit Assist is so powerful and is so engaging for our members.
Right. Understand. Okay. And then was there any specific architectural change that you have to make with this dawn of generative AI, or has it been relatively straightforward, Vishnu, in terms of that AI infrastructure piece?
I don't think anything is straightforward in this new world, Matt. I think one thing to keep in mind is that the models are changing every quarter. The cost of models, the latency of models, the power of these models are just like changing and becoming better and better. And we knew that we were not going to be able to, just within Credit Karma, if we tried to do it, we were not going to be able to keep up with all the changes that are happening. So we took a heavy dependency on GenOS for them to provide us the flexibility so that we can then rely on them to provide a lot of these benefits. And then the other part internally is that from a GenAI perspective, you want to get the right amount of data that you want to allow the LLM to use to reason for the right problems, to figuring out like what's the right amount of data. If you throw too much data at it, it's going to hallucinate. It's not going to be very helpful. The other big piece that I think then we've done a really good job of is how do we combine the right amount of data plus the right amount of prompt engineering plus using tools like RAG. And then finally, how do we integrate it with the rest of the other Credit Karma features and capabilities that we have built over the years, which is powering the rest of the application? Can we bring that to play here in a way that the LLM can use all of these pieces to be able to help our members better?
I know that Intuit has been playing with various models. There's OpenAI. I mean, if they're on AWS, then they're probably using Anthropic, which is a big partner of Amazon AWS. And I think it's pretty well known that to use these models, you actually have to use the cloud provider that's behind those models, right? So if it's Anthropic, you kind of have to use AWS. If it's OpenAI, you have to use Azure from Microsoft. You're on Google. Can you outline the technology stack that you have in place from the cloud and then down to the chip level?
I'll take a shot at this. And Matt, one of the benefits that at Credit Karma we get by using GenOS is that a lot of these cloud relationship, cloud integration, choosing the right model for the cloud, I get access to all of these models by using GenOS. So what we ended up doing within Credit Karma is we've working primarily with OpenAI's models, and then at the same time we are continuing to invest in our evaluation capabilities, again in partnership with the GenOS team, that allows us to easily switch between one set of models or one model to another model. That allows my team to be able to focus on how do we take this as a given and solve for the rest of the layers of the stack to solve for our member problems. Now, if you want to go through the stack, I think there is a lot of innovation that we have had to bring in over the last year to focus on how we can surface up some of these user-facing pieces. Like, how do we build the right kind of guardrails that allows us to protect the inputs that are going into the LLM and then the outputs that are coming out of the LLM. So when you put all of this together is how we are able to build a Gen AI product and put in front of our members.
Feels like you're comfortable with the multi-cloud approach where you're calling an API, spending very little time worrying about GPUs or CPUs. Is that a good summary?
I think it's definitely a good summary. I should definitely say that it took us some time to get here, right? I think the first time we did a forecast on like how many GPUs that we need and how much we need to spend on it, we were way off. And I think by building a lot of these products and trying to understand for which product, how much kind of a how many tokens are you going to need that you want to be able to put into the LLM, get out of the LLM, and how is the user going to use some of these products? It took us some time to develop a little bit of a sense of that. Now we have developed a sense of that, and we know we are kind of in the same ballpark when we come up with a forecast. But we really had challenges initially when we did some of these forecasts. So I'm not saying the infrastructure piece is not necessary, because some of the forecasts that we came up were like in a different world where it's like Gen AI was not as hyped up as it is today, or not where everyone's like recognizing the potential but also hyping it up. I think that would have been like a killer, right? The forecast that the team came up with like a year back, it would have killed the project right at the beginning, right? So I think we worked on those pieces. We faced some big challenges, and had a lot of support from our leadership team to be able to move beyond that and not overthink it, because we realized that we are just making some guesses on things that we did not know anything about at that point in time, right? So the support that we got from our leadership to just like think beyond that and then keep moving forward and then keep building was really, really necessary for us to reach where we are today.
Could you talk a little bit more about the control side, right? You do have this sensitive data. A lot of enterprise companies your size have found potentially working with OpenAI challenging, right? They're closed versus open, giving you a little less control.
So we have a dedicated cluster that we have for accessing OpenAI models, that we know that the data that is going into those clusters are only available for our purposes to help our members, and it's not being made available for anything else apart from that. So we have those strong guarantees that we are getting from Azure on that part.
So Vishnu, many companies struggle with the decision between building custom AI solutions versus off-the-shelf products. What factors are influencing these build versus buy decisions?
You have to constantly think about, like, are you the thing that you're building today or the thing that you're buying today, is that even going to be relevant a year from now? Is that going to be relevant for 6 months from now? That's a very important question to ask in every single area before you go for it. And traditionally, the way we have done that has been very successful for Credit Karma, given our stringent security needs and compliance needs, is to take dependency on large partners who are building more foundational building blocks, but allow us to take those foundational building blocks and impose our own controls, impose our own governance pieces on top of it, and then use it. A lot of the products which might be more easier to say do things like democratize within the company, which is like easy for non-engineers to access. When you choose to buy those products, you lose a lot of flexibility, and you also are having to spending a lot of time on like security and other kind of due diligence. So we end up in general choosing more of these foundational building blocks that we know that are going to be there for the next 5 to 10 years, and we can take a really good dependency on them. And we also feel that it's worth the diligence effort that we put in there. The idea should be like, hey, what are the problem that I'm trying to solve? Can I get a lot more benefits in trying to solve that problem by choosing this technology.
But looking forward, just curious, what are you most excited about when it comes to the AI infrastructure conversation? If you can be excited about it.
I mean, I am definitely excited about the AI infrastructure, right? I think just look at the trend. It's just amazing how much the costs have come down. It's amazing how fast these models have become. So much innovation that is happening across so many different layers of the stack in so many different ways, which means that the kind of products that we can build to help solve our member problems, the way we want to solve our member problems in line with our mission, the possibilities are endless.
Well, this has been a great conversation, Vishnu. Thank you very much, and I wish you all the best.
Thank you. Thanks a lot, Matt.
And thank you for watching. For more stories about the tech revolution, subscribe to our newsletters and check out our other VB in Conversation videos at VentureBeat.com.